Whether you're for or against capital punishment, I think we can all appreciate just how absurd some former methods of it were. Welcome to episode 25 of Alternative Jargon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alternative Jargon, episode number 25. Good to be back after the Halloween special that we had a couple weeks back. If you watched that one or listened, thanks again. Put a lot of time and work into that. But now it's time to move on. Halloween is over. I had to perform an exorcism on my room after that episode. Some creepy stuff went down, but we're back. We're better than ever. And today we're going to discuss some crazy stuff about execution. Now you might be wondering, where did this idea come from? So when I'm trying to get ideas for topics for the show, sometimes I'll just look at random news headlines, and I stumbled across one about the Alabama Supreme Court because they just stated that you can now be executed in the state of Alabama by nitrogen hypoxia. So basically there was this guy who murdered someone 35 years ago, and he's just now getting justice served to him, if you will. And it's basically like getting anesthesia, but it's nitrogen and it kills you. So if you've ever had your wisdom teeth out or something, and, you know, they put the mask on you and it smells weird and then you're knocked out, it's sort of like that, except you don't wake up with bandages in your mouth, okay? So apparently it makes people feel dizzy and euphoric right before they pass out and die. I don't know how they know this, because wouldn't everyone who's had it be dead? I don't know how they tested that, but I guess I'll take their word for it. Now, I'm not sure if this method has been used before in other places. I assume it has, but it's now legal in Alabama. So, but reading this headline kind of made me think about the fact that executions still happen. And, execution's pretty crazy when you think about it. We all know that there are, murderers out there that kill people, and it's crazy. But, execution's a little bit different because it's the authorities doing it. So it always has a weird feeling. I don't really care. I'm not for or against execution. I feel like if they know someone did something, why feed them food for the next 60 years before they die, serving their life sentence? Why not just, put the needle in their arm and save us some tax money? I don't know. There's a lot of debate surrounding it, and this is not a political show, so I don't really care. I'm not going to sit here and pick a side. But yeah, execution to me sort of feels like something out of the Middle Ages that for some reason we still keep around. It does feel very old school, It feels very old school. You always see executions in movies about, the king went mad and had everyone who opposed him put their head on a spike, Vlad the Impaler type stuff. It's not like that anymore, at least not in our country, but, we still do it. We still whack somebody from time to time. So, but let's talk about some insane methods of execution. Let's take a deep dive, and at the end, I'm going to reveal what I think is the coolest method of execution. Let's start off, though, with a firing squad. Now, it might be messed up to say this, but I feel like I don't want to say firing squad execution is funny, but it's a little bit hysterical to me. It just feels so barbaric and messy. Let's just line a guy up against the wall and completely blow him away, It's like the closest I don't know how to describe it. It's literally like Al Capone, you know? Like, if he was in charge of the legal system in our country, I feel like firing squad would definitely be his way about going about things. But, you know, I understand this was probably the easiest way to do things hundreds of years ago, but the fact that it still happens or happened very recently is insane to me. And the reason I say it was easy in the past is, you know, 300 years ago when we had a flintlock pistol and a musket, the easiest way to kill somebody probably would be that way, you know? Line up the militia, line up the Minutemen and get things over with, sure. But we have a lot of technology at our fingertips today, and I feel like there's a lot easier ways to, you know, do things than a firing squad. Now, the last one, as far as I could find in the United States, the last time it was used was in 2010. I understand 2010, that's 13 years ago. Wow, that's forever ago. It's really not, though. 2010, are you kidding me? 2010? Justin Bieber was emerging. Justin Bieber still had the bowl cut. 2010, we killed someone with a firing squad. I want you to picture this. The firing squad people, they work at the prison and they figure out in 2010, hey, we have to do somebody today. All right. So they all line up. One of them's got blanks. Some of them have blanks. Some of them don't. The guy's strapped to the chair. X marks the spot over his heart. I had to look up how they actually did it. It is a little bit humane. They put like a pirate treasure map X over their heart, and that's where they're all supposed to aim. So the good news is they're not like completely blowing their head off, which that helps me rest assured a little bit at night. But anyway, back to my little story here. So they do it. They get it done. The guy's gone. They escort the body out. And then on their way home from work, they pick up the new Justin Bieber album at Walmart for their teenage daughter. 2010, we were doing firing squads. Wow. You know, really makes you think. Really makes you think. You know, I want to hear the conversation that went down whenever they made firing squads like an official thing, because I'm sure a long time ago when we first had guns, and like firing squad was done, even if it wasn't probably called that back then. But I understand why they did it back then. But the fact that it was put into official U.S. law that, yeah, we can execute people this way officially under the state law of our country, I would have loved to sit around and hear that conversation. Yo, how do we get rid of this scummy criminal, huh? How do we get rid of him? We want to execute him. What do we do? Just fill him with lead, I guess. Just completely blow him away. I don't know. There's just something hysterical about it. It's very like Wild West. It's very Wild West. I could see Clint Eastwood doing it all day. All day. You know, I didn't think that we would really see or that this stuff existed until I did my research outside of the Wild West and maybe Nazi Germany. But hey, turns out just a little over a decade ago, we were still whacking people like we're from The Irishman. So, and it is wild how they do it, because I didn't know how they did it. I didn't even know they did it. Whenever I heard people talk about like death by firing squad in a joke, I thought they were literally joking. I didn't know that was still kind of a thing, and I didn't know that it ever actually happened in the U.S. under like official law. So that really surprised me. You know, you learn something every day on alternative jargon. But so they strap a person to a chair in front of a bunch of sandbags. Like I said, they put a mark over where their heart is, and then they get a group of dudes to all shoot them at the same time. And the reason there's a group is to sort of deflect responsibility. Some of the guns have live rounds, some of the guns have blanks, and nobody knows who has what. So nobody knows who actually killed the guy. And I personally think that's lame. I really do. I think we should go back to the olden days when like each town had their own executioner. Like I think part of Biden's cabinet, a position in Biden's cabinet, should be the official executioner. Okay, and he comes out in a big black robe, wearing a mask, and in the middle of his chest, he just has the presidential seal. There are some things about like the English monarchy that we just should not have changed when we sailed on over here. Can you imagine how intimidating it would be if the president had his own state executioner? That would be crazy. And imagine the Halloween costumes you could get out of that. You go to Spirit Halloween and they have the head of the Department of Executions costume in aisle 10. Okay. It would mix things up. It would mix things up. But yeah, I mean, in all the movies and stuff about, the medieval times, they always have the big scary executioner guy. No one knows who he is. He never says a word. He just comes out and he cuts someone's head off. Obviously, I'm joking. We shouldn't do that. I know. But I'm just saying we might reduce murder rates if we just let all of the potential murderers and psychopaths get their rage out by being the town executioner. And we can keep it secret. No one would ever know who it was. But, let's say the law system finds a guy, the FBI finds a guy, and they go, hey, this guy could potentially be dangerous. He could potentially be violent. We should probably step in. So they come to him, they knock on his door, and they go, hello, sir, we know that you're a high-risk potential murderer. And the guy goes, yeah, probably. And they go, we have an offer for you. We're not going to cuff you and take you away. But anytime that we have to, get rid of somebody, how would you just like to do it? And that's how you can fulfill your rage. And the guy goes, absolutely, thank you. You're saving lives. You would be saving lives, okay? If they did that, some areas would definitely get cleaned up, I think. So just a thought. Now, as I was scrolling through the Wikipedia page on methods of capital punishment to research this episode, I stumbled upon one method called quote-unquote blowing from a gun. Now, by the way, if I wasn't on a watch list before, definitely am after visiting that Wikipedia page. But anyway, this method of blowing from a gun, which is a weird phrase, it's similar to the firing squad, but it's a little bit better, if you ask me. Essentially, back when we still used cannons a lot, dying this way, they would strap you to a cannon, and then they would shoot the cannon. They would tie you to the end of the barrel of the cannon, and then they would just let it fly. And I'm sorry, but that's absolutely hilarious. That has to be the most, just taking it way too far way of killing somebody. Just absolutely. Have you seen a cannon? Have you ever been to, a war memorial or a museum and seen a cannon? Cannons are they're not forgiving, okay? But they would tie these people to the cannon and then just absolutely blow them away. We could have done this with a little bullet about this size, about an inch long, if that. But no, we're going to waste a 50-pound cannonball on this son of a gun. You gotta really hate somebody to put him away like that. There's got to be some extracurricular beef or something to have someone executed with a freaking cannon. Are you kidding me? But it's a little bit funny. I think it's kind of hilarious. Using a cannon, it's extremely past the line. But it does make me think, like, would the person fly with the ball, or would they... I don't know. I don't know the logistics of it. I don't think there's any videos of it on YouTube because they didn't have cameras back when you could die from blowing from a gun. But good Lord. Good Lord. But anyway, like I was saying about the old executioners and the big hoods and the big axe, that'll lead me into the next execution method, which is beheading. Now, this is a classic, really a big-time European influence here. You know, they used to have the executioners like you saw in Game of Thrones or Harry Potter. And later on, they developed the guillotine. And it was really great at its job. And, you know, the good thing about the guillotine is that no longer somebody actually has to physically swing the axe. There just has to be some depraved person to, cut the rope on the guillotine and let it fall. Still not the most noble of professions, but I guess someone has to do it. I think this might be the most symbolic form of execution, though, because you can literally say, bring me his head. Very symbolic. It's a classic line delivered by evil kings and dictators throughout history. Okay. They tell their favorite bounty hunter, bring me his head. Or they finally catch the criminal in the town village that was doing bad things. And they go, I'll have your head for it, sir. I'll have your head for that. It's classic. Very symbolic. You are removing someone's head. It doesn't get much worse than that. If you don't have a head, there's really not much you can do anymore, except die. So, this method allows for a lot of iconic movie lines. You do that, I'll have your head off. So, but something really, really creepy about this method, though, is that, now this is just a theory, but it's theorized that sometimes, this makes my skin crawl, but sometimes the heads would still have consciousness moments after decapitation. I don't know, that's gross. But this theory comes because in 1905, I guess, a French man was sent to the guillotine, and after it happened, somebody in the crowd watching called his name, and apparently the eyes opened and focused on the person that said it. And that might be the creepiest thing I've ever heard. That makes my skin crawl. It's not right. It's really not right. I don't like stuff like that. Like how they said that shortly after JFK was assassinated, like seconds after, like his hand moved up to fix his hair because it was like such a muscle memory. Oh no, that's gross. Like that. Like every once in a while I'll be scrolling through TikTok and then I'll stumble across a video like people that freshly butchered meat and the muscles are like, they're like twitching. I can't do that stuff. Whatever genre of horror that is, it's absolutely gross, and I don't like it. It's gross. I legitimately cannot watch those videos. So I really want to switch the subject. So let's talk about the next method of execution, and that's hanging. Another classic, okay? Another old-timey, going back many years. So this one is a bit odd to me because it seems like a pretty inefficient way of doing things. Okay, you have to set up, gavels, you have to tie the ropes, and then, the person struggles the whole time. It's not like instant. It takes a moment for things to happen. It's not as instant as the beheading or the firing squad. So really not good if you were to be hung. Really not a good thing. And an even worse part about hanging is that they sort of like used this as a spectacle for people. So, back in the day, you go to the town square to witness the executions. You pop a nice big kettle of popcorn and you head down. And, people were sick back then. Honey, I'm taking the kids down to the town square to watch the hangings this afternoon. Have dinner ready when we're back. Thanks. Yay, Dad, I can't wait. I'm finally old enough to watch the people get hung. What was wrong with people back then, dude? I don't care if it's the worst criminal ever charged. I don't want to sit there and watch someone, do that. That's I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But, they all stand around and, I don't know, what did they do back then? Did they throw tomatoes at them while they're being hung or something? I mean, I wouldn't put anything past these people. If you're weird enough to want to go watch people die, then, I don't know, you're capable of a lot, I think. But yeah, I don't care if it's a criminal. I don't want to stand there and watch somebody squirm like that. It's messed up. It's really messed up. I feel like that is honestly like the modern day equivalent of that is like the people that like to watch like live leak videos just for the sake of watching live leak videos. Very questionable activity. And, people that actively seek that stuff out, maybe the FBI might show up at your door and ask you to be the town executioner. That's all I'm going to say. There might be something a little bit wrong with you if you seek that stuff out. Let's move on to the next method, though, and that is stoning. This one very popular in the Middle East, even to this day, actually. There are a handful of countries where stoning is still very legal and very much practiced. Mainly in the Middle East and parts of Africa, it's legal. But I guess that's how they roll over there. That's different strokes for different folks, different culture over there. If you come out as gay, they either like throw you off a building or they stone you or something. Not ideal if you were a gay person in one of those countries. Just really not ideal. Stoning would be a pretty crappy way to go. Pretty painful. Honestly, I might rather be hung than be stoned, come to think of it. But, this one does feel very biblical. Like, people in the Bible would always get stoned and stuff, I think. So, not a good way to go. That would hurt, You might just hope that whoever throws first is like Nolan Ryan, and he just delivers a 98-mile-an-hour fastball right to the head and just get things over with right away. Because I wouldn't want to take like a million body shots before they cut to the chase and finally just, ring me up and strike me out. If I had to be stoned, I would want Aroldis Chapman to step up and just deliver a strike, What's I'd stand up. If I had to get stoned, I'd look Aroldis Chapman right in the eyes from 60 feet, 6 inches away, and I would give him the sign for fastball, 2-2-1, and hope that he doesn't shake me off, and hope that he gives me the nod, checks the runner on second, and then just puts me away. I wouldn't want to ride the count full and, have the payoff pitch finally put me away. I'd want to be struck out first pitch, if you know what I mean. I don't want any 3-2 counts, and I certainly don't want to be walked. That's for sure. So find me whoever has the biggest arm in the town square and let him do the job. So, being stoned is sort of like an at-bat in baseball in a way, but an at-bat where you want to be struck out right away. So I mentioned this one feels very biblical, but nothing compares to the biblical implications of our next method, and that is crucifixion. This one is absolutely wild, I think. Absolutely insane that people used to be killed this way. And I definitely think of the ones I've mentioned so far, this is by far the most brutal method and the one that I would least want to happen to me if I had to be put on death row. I would not want this to happen to me. You are literally nailed to a piece of wood through your wrists, and you can't breathe. And people that were crucified would survive for hours, if not days, before they were actually dead, and just in total agony the whole time. Sometimes they would break your legs while you're on the cross, so you're in even more pain. And I just can't imagine going through that. I cannot imagine the whole weight of my body, that's just nasty. That's just nasty. It really does make you appreciate Jesus even more if you didn't already. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. You got to admit, dude, that had to have sucked, okay? We can all feel for Jesus. I don't care if you're not religious. Dude, that would have sucked, all right? But yeah, even before Jesus, the Romans used crucifixion as a method of execution for a while. And, it is kind of tough that, Jesus turned their brutal method of execution into the most iconic symbol of all time. All right. And I'm obviously talking about the cross. Okay. He turned the freaking tables. He took the thing that killed him and he used the Uno reverse card on it. And yeah, now we have the cross. It's iconic. And I think it's really tough that he did that. And by tough, I mean Tuff, tough, not the traditional spelling. Okay, that is how insanely hard Jesus goes. Just insanely hard. He was a cold dude. And I think he probably goes down as the coolest guy of all time. Once again, whether you are religious or not. Coolest guy ever. Gotta be Jesus. But speaking of the coolest things ever, it's time for the grand reveal of what I think is the coolest execution style of all time. And that is execution by combat. The Colosseum in Rome was where people would gather to watch each other, to watch criminals battle either each other or animals or whatever else they had planned that day. Look, remember when I said you had to be a little sick in the head to go watch people get hanged? Look, I'm gonna let this method of execution be a little bit of an exception to that. If they had a modern day Colosseum where I could go watch Jeffrey Epstein and the Columbine shooters try to ward off a pack of lions in a pit, I might have to buy a ticket. I don't know. If that makes me a sick person, there's no way I'd be the only one either. Come on. I want to see Jeffrey Epstein try to fight like a jaguar. Let's put all registered pedophiles in the fighting pits, man. I don't know who says no to that. The only people that say no to that might be pedophiles. So, but also one thing I learned about the Colosseum recently is that they actually filled it up with water and they had ship battles in it at certain points. Honestly, if you ask me, entertainment has never been the same since. How can you follow that act? How can you top that? A sea battle in an arena. Okay, the closest thing we have to that today is probably like Disney on Ice. And it doesn't really come close. All right, a sea battle in the Colosseum. It doesn't get much better than that. You know, we think crowds are loud at professional sporting events today. You know, the Seahawks 12th man or, you know, Bedlam at the bank. Okay, no. Can you imagine how loud the Colosseum probably was? Dude, people were probably going crazy back then. And they're probably all drunk off wine. So, I mean, can you imagine an Olay chant starting in the Colosseum? All right, while a guy is just getting mauled by a bear or something. Olay, 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 olay. I mean, dude, the place would be electric. Imagine you're a prisoner and you find out you're going to have to fight in the Colosseum. And you walk out of the gate and you see, I don't know, a woolly mammoth. I don't think those existed when this was going on, but just for the sake of the story, bear with me. You see a woolly mammoth on the other side of the arena charging at you. And then in your final moments, you glance up at the crowd and they're doing the wave. You know, not only would execution by combat be the best version to watch as entertainment, but it would also be, I think, the coolest way to go. If I was on death row and I found out, hey, we're shipping you up to MetLife Stadium to fight off a pack of grizzly bears in a maxed out, sold out stadium, I would be like, you know what? I'll take it. Like, at least you're going to die in a somewhat cool manner. So it's a lot cooler than any of the other ones. And hey, you do get to put up a fight, if only for a couple seconds. So the other day I did see a TikTok that said, like, dude, imagine being drunk off of ancient wine at 11 a.m. in ancient Rome, watching a man in a chariot try to defeat a tiger. It would have, like I said, entertainment has never reached those levels since. What do we have today? The Masked Singer? Whatever. I guess we'll take what we can get. But, if a candidate really wanted to win in 2024, I think they should advocate for every NFL stadium in the country to turn into a trial by combat once a month for all the prisoners on death row. Who says no? Once again. And we can even narrow it down. We won't do everyone on death row. Let's start with the pedophiles. Who says no to watching a kid toucher get mauled by a bear? Only other pedophiles. Okay. And maybe that's why none of the candidates are bringing that point up. You said it, not me. Actually, I did just say it. But anyway, I think that would be the biggest landslide win in American history if that was part of their agenda. the map would be either completely red or completely blue. Whichever side decided to bring that point out in their rhetoric would just crush. Absolutely crush. And then you can figure out each American who voted for you and give them a free ticket. Who says no? Only pedophiles, okay? So if you want to come at me and say, dude, you actually think that would be a good idea? Watch out. You're just labeling yourself, and not in a way that you want to be labeled. All right. Not in a way you want to be labeled. So, yeah, dude, let's throw every pedophile into the fighting pit. If you take nothing away from this podcast, that's the one thing I'd like you to take away. So that'll be the episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Write to your local congressman about the fighting pits with the pedophiles. We will get on top of that. I think it would be great. I think it would be great television. Definitely sell a lot of tickets. So, and hey, that could reduce our taxes. If they sell tickets to that, then they won't have to tax us as hard. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.